Welcome to Writer's Way podcast, the podcast where we delve into the minds and motivation of those who challenge the status quo and shape our future. I'm your host, Athena Rodriguez, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of the author, David Hook. David Hook isn't your ordinary author with a career marked by bold ideas and unwavering determination. He's carved a path that's as unconventional as it is impactful. David, welcome.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
About you said that you were born and grow up on a farm. How did that come to structure your thinking?
I don't know. I think I was born uh, with the idea of questioning authority. Almost always wondering what happens if they were wrong. And so it began with my parents. And so I think I was told by them that when I was 4 years old, we were out planting a garden on the farm. And then I made comments about why did we have to use straight rows and why did we have to destroy so much nature in order to plant this garden? Why did we have to kill all those other forms of plants? That seemed quite cruel and quite mean. Straight rows were very boring.
Uh-oh.
And Father got upset, sent me to the house. Wouldn't let me help plant anymore because he thought I was an idiot. So ever since I was 4, I was an idiot.
Uh-oh.
And
You were pretty curious back then.
I just didn't understand why humans do what they do, and it stuck with me. When I was 13, I was kicked out of my church and told I could never enter the building again. Because I repeatedly made, according to the charges, I made Sunday school teachers cry. So because of that, I could not be tolerated. I would ask dumb things like, why wasn't God a woman? Did she really have to be a man? And such things as, is Jesus a homosexual? Having all those other guys around him all the time and never mentioning women. So that upset my church very much. And, they sent me on my way, never to be allowed in. But there was a pattern how I behaved towards authority, which was always troublesome.
So back then you have a pretty unique way of seeing things, right?
Oh, I don't know if it was unique. It's just that I rather liked nature. I thought nature was quite beautiful, and I thought what humans did was pretty primitive. And so I was concerned about humans being so primitive, this backdrop of this very beautiful nature. So I was just asking funny questions. And when I was in high school, I became president of what's called the Future Farmers of America organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing I did was to stop a process which went on in the high school, this was in Fairfield Iowa. They were trying to clean up nature and officially get rid of pests. Pests were bothering humans. They wanted students to learn how to get rid of pests. So during the weekends, students, particularly farmer students, were to go out and kill pests. And then on Monday, they would bring in heads or legs or tails of the pests they'd killed. And then someone at the desk would count through the bag of stuff brought in and give you points relative to what you had killed during the weekend to clean up pests. And every now and then, there were even say a dog or a cat head or a tail. And I would comment that, isn't that pretty mean? And they said, look, dogs and cats can be pests also, so just shut up and go away. So I got that process suspended, and school management was extremely angry at me because I went over their heads to get the students to suspend the process. And so based on that, they banned me from taking any college preparatory course. So no English, no science, no math, preparation for college. That was my punishment. And so I have a long track record of being punished. If you ever look at my resume, you'll notice my 28-page resume emphasizes places that fired me, the firing process. Of course, I'm obviously somewhat proud of. And so I have a long history that began at age 4. What they said was questioning authority. And so I tended to do that a lot. And they say I even still do it.
So, from age 7, you were driving tractors on roadways against the law. So, how did that affect your attitude towards regulations?
It sort of did, because laws were designed by people that don't know much. They certainly don't know much about what they're writing the law about. And so, in essence, in my major climate change research project done 75 to 77, I took that with me into that project, and in essence made fun of laws early on in that project. So I talked with, you probably didn't remember him, but Edmund Muskie, the senator that wrote the environmental law of 1869. And then I talked to President Clinton's chief advisor on environmental regulation, on how laws were written. And so I have a long documentation of talking to people that wrote the laws. Found out that they had no idea what the hell they were writing. This was amazing. And then I came up with this scheme of categorizing lawyers as people that write 100-word sentences where they began the first part of the sentence with a very clear definition of what they want. By the end of the 100 words, they have contradicted themselves completely. And the law has become meaningless. And so I was one of the first 77 to go in some depth on how environmental law was making the environment dirtier. It actually was making things worse. I became quite an enemy of lawyers. Then one of my firing episodes during 5 years, I contested the firing. We had 5 different court cases. I chose an incredibly bad lawyer who was a professor at a leading law school, very, very well known, well recognized, but he wrote almost constantly in 120-word sentences. So throughout the case, I used him to see if my original thesis was right. He would get angrier and angrier each time we met. For 18 months, we went through $1 million in legal fees and $5 million university of standard law and how it makes things worse. So I tend to be pretty critical of lawyers and their training and their education.
So from age 12, one of your jobs was to milk 20 to 30 Jersey cows at 5 a.m. and p.m. each day. Did that affect your social or school life?
Yeah, there was none. When you get up at 4 to start milking at 5, then you have to be home and milk from, say, 5 to 7. You don't particularly think of going out and having fun with friends or meeting friends. It's tough days. So milking those Jersey cows was my main project for years. I didn't even realize others didn't have to do that. I just assumed people were involved in such things, but they weren't.
So
the cows were nice.
So when did you begin to question authority relative to rules of the masculine overriding laws of the natural?
Probably most when I was an early teenager. That probably when I was 12 or 13, I found human laws to be not just silly. Of course they were silly, but I found them actually to be counterproductive. So I ran for the office of being the local president of the local 4-H chapter. And there were certain rules put into play by the 4-H chapter leaders, U.S.-wide. So based on those rules, I disbanded the 4-H chapter the same night I was elected president. So my first act was to close for the county.
So that was the
Just like
that. So that was like the purpose of you joining that to become joining that one, like to become the president, so that you will be able to like share your.
I became president, and then I closed the chapter.
Oh.
So my first act after winning was to close it down, to tell people to do a better job individually. Because the way they treated their pets and animals was really horrible. Their attitude towards nature was disgusting. And it was allowed vis-a-vis the rules of 4-H. You know, that in essence, they were trying to be obedient to the animals. And so I simply flushed the whole group. The people voting for me agreed that they thought the rules were a major part of the problem. And then it got worse. I did more work in environmental stuff, and probably the clearest example of it really being bad was I was originally trained as an architect. So in Philadelphia, I was working on an architectural project for a Florida company, building a 10,000-person community packed in Florida. I had designed the community to be non-disruptive of nature, try and keep as much of the nature on the site as at all possible. And then I took that and got one of the first environmental impact statement approvals in the state of New Jersey, as well as the federal one from Washington, D.C. And so based on doing the design that won approval for the least disruptive design for a 10,000-person housing development, I took that to the developer that was building the project. Quite happily presented him my design, my drawings, and the approval. 2 approvals. And he took them, looked at them, took the design and the approvals, and walked over to the trash barrel and threw them in the trash. He says, "There, now we can get to work." And so then I realized that things were much worse than I thought. Indeed, he built that damn project.
So why were you barred from access to college preparatory courses in high school?
Because they felt because of my behavior, I would only be a farmer. I would never make it to college. It'd be a waste of me going to college. I was a farmer type. So obviously I wasn't appropriate for college. So it would be a waste of the teacher's skill, of time and effort to give me college preparatory courses. So instead, during that time, I spent much time in the library reading books instead. So I read books on science, mathematics, languages. I learned much more from those books than the silly courses that were being offered. And, so because of that, I did go to Iowa State University because I was told by an uncle that I didn't like that was the hardest school in America, and I should never go there because I wasn't that bright. And he went on to say that if you ever go there, do not study electrical engineering because that requires intelligence. Stay away from it. So, because I didn't like him, my only choice was to go to Iowa State and study electrical engineering. So, in essence, I went to Iowa State, and my first course in physics had to do with aspects of thermodynamics. So, first day, and from all the reading I did in high school, I was quite passionate about the spectrum of thermodynamics called entropy. And it really, really made a lot of sense to me on how bad humans were relative to ignoring entropy. So in that physics course of, 150 people, whatever, I raised my hand and asked when we were going to talk about entropy, because it was thermodynamics. And the instructor got very angry. He said, no one understands entropy. We certainly aren't going to waste our time with it. Sit down and be quiet. So every day thereafter, I would raise my hand and ask, is it time to talk about entropy yet? He funked me. So I learned a lot at Iowa State by being funked. First physics course. And,
So,
then I knew I was right.
mhm.
Anyway, the book I'm now rewriting is focused on entropy, by the way. It's the best explanation of how climate is coming about, of any law of physics.
You heard that, listeners. David has an upcoming book, so we will be waiting for it, David. So I'm just curious though. So since you've been barred access to college preparatory, how did that affect your progress in college? Did it affect so much?
It was okay. After 3 years, I had a 2.3 grade point average. So sort of depending on how much a teacher could tolerate me asking questions, my grades varied based only on how angry teachers got. So vis-a-vis that, I did meet some teachers I really liked, really respected. And I met ones that I thought were really lousy and had no idea and certainly shouldn't be teaching. So I had 2.3 after 3 years. But then, lo and behold, I got sent away on a paid vacation to Vietnam. You've heard of Vietnam?
Yeah.
But in my third year of college, I stumbled onto the long lecture hall one day, and it was a lecture on architecture, where the professor was lecturing on how the future of humanity depended on buildings produced out of rough concrete. Because he said having rough exposed concrete made people more humble and more obedient. They obey orders. The buildings are concrete that they're around. So he was lecturing on how the students should all make these horrible concrete buildings with very rough surfaces. Users would be obedient. I thought, oh my God, I've arrived home. This is fantastic. But what an asshole. Possibly the worst person I'd ever met up until that time. And so I switched that day from engineering, electrical, to architectural engineering. About a week later, I got a call from the draft board in my local county, where the draft board guy was quite upset with me, accused me of thinking I was smart by transferring from a 4-year program to a 5-year program. Since there was vast deferment, he said it does not apply if you expand the number of years you do in college. So they were going to draft me immediately upon graduation. Upon the end of the 4th year, even though I didn't graduate, they would draft me immediately. So do you understand that? And I said, yes, I get you. And now, do you understand my response? And he said, what? And so my response was, fuck you. The reason he said that is because I knew they couldn't back by law, that they could not. So anyway, that was the end of the 3rd year. 2 weeks later, I got a draft notice. They decided to suspend the law for me and draft me immediately and send me to Vietnam. That's funny. For my SU grade. And so I was given 2 weeks.
Don't you think that's too much?
What?
Don't you think that's too much? Like they sent you to Vietnam around that time.
It was okay. It was okay. I went to basic training, then I went to helicopter training. During helicopter school, I came to quite like the others with me. And
Okay.
So they made an announcement, they finished their training, that 50% would go to Vietnam and 50% would go off other places such as Germany. And so how should we decide? And I made a proposal that anyone that had a girlfriend or a wife that loved them should not go to Vietnam. Any of those that didn't have a girlfriend should go to Vietnam. So those that had no one loving them might as well go to Vietnam. They used that to cut up the class. And so then some of them got sent off to Vietnam. And I like Vietnam very much. I like Vietnamese people. I came to dislike Americans very much. I came to dislike our army in Vietnam. I came to really dislike our leadership back in Washington.
Indeed, for sure. I have heard a lot of authors also mention about Vietnam. So, what aspects of college were most difficult to negotiate with?
Oh, probably limited professors, limited in terms of their mentality or their attitude. Actually, the older they were, the worse they were. And so, particularly old white guys were pretty worthless. I found them problematic. But nonetheless, after, one thing it's worth noting, I became somewhat famous in Vietnam because I was, my helicopter was being used to carry troops in and take wounded and dead out of battle. So I was once in the process of loading wounded and dead soldiers. And the captain came up and ordered me to stop that and take my machine gun and shoot off in the distance where women and children were to scare them. And so he felt that in order to get respect, we should shoot women and children. And so then I offered to shoot him instead. And thought that I would feel much better about humans if I could shoot him, but he mind. Anyway, he charged me with insubordination. So we had a trial of the battle conditions. Many troops had heard me say that, and they thought it was fantastic. They liked the comment. But then I became famous for my defense in the trial I made this comment. We, the unwilling, led by the unqualified, kill the unfortunate, die for the ungrateful. And anyway, that 2 or 3 years later, that became so well known, it was put on alternative dog tags with soldiers in Vietnam War because they found the whole thing disgusting. But anyway, based on that, I was going to be sent back home. I refused to go, so they let me stay in Vietnam for 1.5 years instead. But they discharged me from the army and sent me back. So I got home because my mind was different. I joined a Muslim gang around the U.S. Cycle gang. Figure out what was going on. And they sent me back to Iowa State University to finish my degree. And so I can thank the gang for sending me there. And I went back to Iowa State for 2 more years to finish my degree. And what was interesting is I got almost all A's and B's. My grades were far superior to the previous, no matter how hard they were. And that part was explained by on my graduation in 71, graduation ceremony, which I refused to go to. I have 4 college degrees. I've never gone to one of them for graduation. But nonetheless, a professor friend of mine picked up an award given to me, graduation ceremony. And the award was given by the engineering faculty at Iowa State. It stated, to David Hawk, the scariest state we ever had. So that award explained that, they were the same. They taught the same crap. They were scared. So somehow I graduated and moved on. I won't go into it, but 10 years later, I was asked to go back there and teach at Iowa State, which I did. But I won't go into that. But I eventually was, after 2 or 3 years, I was fired by Iowa State directly by the president, not by the board, but by the president. And so my history with Iowa State's somewhat funny. And I think it's funny, but other people find it sad. Anyway, based on that, instead of attending classes in school at Iowa State, during my last 2 years, I arranged foreign study, meaning that per the rules of the university, I could go to another country, study, and even hire my own professors. And so I went to 2 different places, 2 different semesters, where I hired the faculty. And the condition was I had to allow other students to go with me. So the first trip, I took 22 students along with me. And the second trip, because the first was so popular, I took 43 students along with me, which was the entire class of that year. So we left all
that's a lot.
At Iowa State went off for foreign study.
What was their reactions when you did that?
They changed the laws at Iowa State, so you couldn't do that anymore. But the students report during the second episode, one of the people I hired to be our teacher in architecture was in the competition for the Munich Olympic Games. And so after I graduated end of that year, he invited me to come back and work for his office, which I did. I went back. We worked on the Munich Olympic competition, which then he won. And in part he won because of him. He said an idea of mine, how to get rid of parallel lines in architectural design. So they designed the Olympic stadium buildings without parallels in them. And they were absolutely beautiful. Anyway, based on that, some people in the government of central London came to visit his office to see his wonderful designs. They asked if there's somebody in his office that they could hire to come and help London. So he pointed at me and said, hire him if you can.
So when did you... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, anyway, I was fired from the London job by, first of all, Margaret Thatcher, and then secondly by Westminster Council, because the project they wanted me to get built, it was, you may not know, a Piccadilly Circus, but they wanted this new design to redo Piccadilly Circus as the heart of London, and I opposed the design. And so I opposed it during much of a year, and finally had a big exhibition at Piccadilly Circus for the public to come and vote on, which, of course, the government did not want. Anyway, I let the public come and vote, and they voted overwhelmingly not to do it. So I was fired by the council, and much anger. They fired me, but as part of my work, I had hired a consultant from Philadelphia, a guy called Edmund Bacon, who's one of the greatest city planners we've ever had. And he invited me to come back and be a student at that university. He said I would find it much different than Iowa State. He said he noticed that I did not have a master's degree, yet I had projects that I was doing which people usually with a master's degree would do. So he really felt I should get a master's degree. So then I asked him, where is University of Pennsylvania? He said, I've never heard of it. So I did go there and studied with him. That's where I picked up my last 3 degrees. And I found many wonderful professors there. So in answer to your question, I found really amazing people that I worked with. And took courses from. Well, you probably should know that after one semester in architecture courses, the architecture faculty asked me not to take any more architecture courses. But they said I was too disruptive. And so I could take courses all over campus. Could not take architecture courses, and they would let me graduate anyway in architecture. So I could stay out of their classroom. So I got to take wonderful courses all over the place at Penn. And that's where I met some really amazing professors. And then when I was just ready to get the planning degree, which was the second degree there, I did a thesis that upset the faculty very, very much. Keep in mind, this was 73. I wrote a thesis on how to get rid of highways and get rid of concrete, have electronic communication between people. So they would be connected worldwide electronically, and not drive around in stupid cars looking for each other. Faculty of city planning really hated that, because they taught students how to do concrete highways, etc. So they flunked me. Based on hearing that, two of the leading faculty at the university, which were both in the Wharton School of Business, went over to visit planning, and they talked them into giving me an A, reverse F. And then those two faculty asked me to join a new PhD program they were going to start. So the central point is that each time I cause some of these troubles, there's always someone there that likes the trouble. Based on that, I always get to do good stuff to good people. It all works out.
So, when did you learn that questioning authority is expensive?
I guess I learned it many times. When I retired from Iowa State, then because of my PhD from the Wharton School, the Boston Consulting Group in Boston offered me a job of $81,000, which was quite a salary back in 1981. As part of my work, I would teach one course at Harvard during the year at the business school. The rest of the time, just do consulting work within Boston Consulting Group. It was $81,000. So I thought that was fine. Then the former dean at Iowa State since moved to a place called New Jersey Institute of Technology in Newark. And he asked me to please consider taking a job there instead of Harvard. And so I said, fine. So I went down and visited with him. He was smart enough to have me meet with students, not faculty. And so I had a wonderful meeting with wonderful students. I fell in love with NJT students because they came from poor families. Huge sense of humor. Love questioning. So anyway, based on meeting the students, I took a job there. And they offered me, instead of $81,000, they offered me $30,000 a year. Come take the job. So that's when I realized it's expensive to. And then when I actually showed up for work, the provost called me in and said, "You're only getting $27,500. So not going to get $30,000." Became even more expensive than what I did. But ultimately, I became the highest paid professor at that university. Ultimately, I became the dean there before I retired. I think eventually I got $250,000 a year as my salary from them, which was the highest dean salary and the highest professor salary. So it's expensive in the short term, but in the long term, it seems to always pay off well. The nice thing, when I was getting $250,000, I argued that was too much. That teachers get too damn much money. Students can't afford the tuition. So I arranged to have half of the money go back to pay for students' tuition. Really upset the other dean and everybody else.
So when did...
Not Fine, go ahead. Sorry.
So, okay. So, when did you learn that the expense of eight is actually a tremendous asset to understanding life?
The expense of what? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. When did you learn that the expense of the I'm sorry, when did you learn that the expense of questioning authority is actually a tremendous asset to understanding life?
Oh, probably at age 4. Because I wanted that damn garden planted differently.
Because of the garden.
Since then, one of my best friends is one of the great scientists about the importance of diversity and why healthfulness depends on diversity, particularly of crops and planting. This the single form of production, single crop, is actually becoming quite unhealthy, as well as killing off the soil. At age 4, I somehow realized what he found out 50 years ago, and now is one of the leading experts in the world on the importance of diversity of plants. So I did that a long time ago, it seemed, for some reason. It seemed obvious. So that's why much of my work on climate change goes back to nature and the importance of the natural way. And, so my work hangs on to what I learned at age 4. Just gut building. Humans are quite limited and not particularly smart. Well, I shouldn't say this, but particularly masculine is not very smart. The feminine has much hope. So I tend to find that women have great potential. So in the area of climate change, I desperately want women to be the leadership, because they at least will be able to manage some of the pain, heartache that accompany climate change, whereas men were the cause of it. Men brought it about in their behavior with industrialization. And so I tend to be biased towards women. And I guess you don't know about it, but I started a foundation in China called the Eternal Feminine. And that was an effort beginning in 2015.
Is it still active until now?
No, in 21 it was closed by the head of the government in China with a speech saying that what China needs in the future is more masculinity, not this feminine crap.
Not the same. So,
it was a foundation when I opened it. I opened it in 2015, celebration of Donald Trump running for president, because I thought he would be the worst person to have as the president of anything, but he would probably become president. So I started this foundation in opposition of Donald Trump. And so in the weeks, it attracted $650 million. And so it had to start, and almost all the money came from fathers that had daughters and no sons.
mm,
And so it became quite a foundation for about 5 years, 6 years. When it was closed, the website, feminine.org, still exists in English, but the Chinese version is gone. And recently, the UN came to me and asked about possibly moving the foundation to the UN because they like the website very much. We'll see how that goes. My bottom line really is to enhance the feminine. Not very. It just manage the masculine.
not the masculine. So, when did you discover that humans face very great trouble to their continuance due to their relations to nature?
1975. When I began this, I left the Wharton program that I was in, the PhD program, because they didn't want to have research on environmental deterioration, business school program, and they didn't think businesses were that dirty. And so they would not support or help me. So I left and went to Sweden. A friend of mine at the Stockholm School of Economics teamed up with me, and we started what was instituted international business at the Stockholm School of Economics. We raised about $100 million to start that institute. And its very first project was a project I designed on environmental deterioration from business ideas. So I did a 2-year international project on how business ideas end up with really dirty stuff. And then during that process, I had some teachers and companies. And for the project, I had 20 companies and 6 experiments. And they all had asked to join the project, which might be surprised at this, but included Exxon. Exxon had asked to join the project. And their chief scientist taught me about climate change. In essence, he was the master of climate change research. He taught me about a woman, Eunice Newton Foote, who in 1856 became the first climate scientist in the world. She was the first one to point out that CO2 from using coal in industrial plants was going to cause the temperature to get hotter in the world. And no one had ever mentioned her before. And so this man, Dr. Black of Exxon Research, taught me about Mrs. Foote. And so she's the one that taught me about climate change along with Dr. Black. So in essence, it was the oil people which taught me most about climate. Their research was spot on. Really good research back in the 70s. So, and the then CEO of Exxon liked my work very much. I liked the final report that presented and started giving lectures on climate change, which means that he was then fired and replaced by a real oil man. So he was one of my great teachers on climate change. Doesn't sound, does it? Anyway, that was and then since then, it got better and better, and I've learned much more from many more people on climate change.
And that's the reason, one of the reasons why you have written those books, right? To share it.
Yeah, because I think, particularly the last one, humans, is pretty deadly. It really is too late just now. Humans are going to suffer a lot, and most nations will go away. A good share of the 8 billion people will go away. Lack of food, lack of climate, lack of housing. 85% of the scientists agree with me. See that? And in 2050, it's going to be pretty tough. So that's why
David. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. We have learned a lot today. I just wanted to know what you would like to share to our listeners, especially for the youngs out there. What is the message that you would like to give them?
As I increasingly say to an increasing number of particularly youth that ask me about this, keeping in mind that I'm almost 80 years old now. In November I'll be 80. But I turn to them and tell them that probably the best advice I can give you is be nice. Do your best to be nice. You really are going to go through some very tough times. And do not look for one of these silly Nazi-type leaders who promise to save you. Track that and go back to individual regulation of yourself and management of yourself. Don't worry about a leader managing you. You don't need that, and you won't like what happens. And all along in that process, do your best to be nice. That's probably the most that humans do.
All right. Thank you so much for being here in Writer's Way podcast. Guys, you can get David Hook's book "Too Early, Too Late." Now what? In Amazon, and also it's available in Barnes and Noble. Right, David?
It's true. It is there. And those are probably the good ones to start with. And the forthcoming one, I think, will be even better, except it'll be more biased towards the feminine than any others have been. They'll go into more detail on how men cause this with their masculinity and how women have to pick up the mess, try to survive as much as possible. But that book will be coming out in a few months.
All right. We will be waiting for that one, David. Thank you so much. Okay.
Pleasure. Thank you. Love your voice. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Bye, David.
Bye.